Morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Good? All right. Kudos to those of you who came to Sacramento with me, because I know you're cold. My name's Megan. I'm Deputy Secretary for Biodiversity and Habitat at California Natural Resources Agency. We've got a great number of state agencies and departments here. And what that shows is the excitement and commitment of the states to projects like this. Projects that are working to get people that have been excluded from the outdoors and experiencing it in a way that they want to. Projects that are addressing the biodiversity that makes California special and unique, and doing it in a way that promotes climate and fire resilience. I mean, we're right on a road right here, right? One of the major fire starters in California. So how do we protect this place and all the communities around it while providing access and protecting the plants and animals that call this place? So a lot of our departments are invested in this place. They're here to be a partner, to find the path forward and work collectively. And you'll hear from them throughout the day. I'm keeping my remarks short because I know you want to hear mostly from 48. But I want to pass it over to Dr. Jen Norris, who's the Executive Director of Wildlife Conservation Board. Big thanks to Jade for organizing this. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Norris. I'm the Executive Director of the California Wildlife Conservation Board. Never heard of us, you're not alone. We're kind of a small state agency, but we do a lot of grant making statewide for projects that protect and restore biodiversity and get people to enjoy wildlife-oriented recreation. So WCB helped fund, along with Sierra Nevada Conservancy, the purchase of this property for 40-acre Conservation League's vision. We've also funded the forest health work and the planning that is going to help take this vision and bring it into the real world. So nice to meet you all and visit on lunch. And I almost and jump for you.
Hi, good morning everybody. Super excited to be here with all of you. My name is Angie Avery, and I'm the Executive Officer of the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. With WCB and 40-Acre Conservation League, we consider ourselves partners in this project. We've got a little over $3.5 million invested in acquisition and some forest management work that's happening on site. I want to speak to all of you and say that projects like this, as Megan and Jen said, are critically important, especially in the region that we live in. So we represent the Sierra Nevada region, which is the Oregon border down to Kern County, the eastern sort of side of the Sierra Nevada, and the diversity of our region leaves a lot to be desired historically, and so to see an active effort to create diverse access in a region that has historically been underrepresented is something that we're very proud of. Super excited to be a partner in this, to be working with other state agencies, and really excited to be out on this beautiful land on this beautiful day with all of you today.
So Daryl Lucian, I do a lot of work with 40-Acre Conservation League. Kind of stumbled into this a little bit as I think went through some early painful learning experiences, but as you can see, the work is well underway. What you see around you is not by any means the final or the conclusion. We're literally just getting started. We're going to bring our registered professional forester up here, Bob Hutchison, but I'll just kick it off with just a sort of a few educational items. So this is considered timberland. We have a variety of different timberland trees. These trees right here that are kind of bright green, right above everyone's heads, those are incense cedar trees. When you look on this side of the road, you see a lot of incense cedar, not exclusively, but a lot of them, all right? And those trees have quite a bit of value to them from the perspective of logging. When you look over to my right side over here, what you see are a lot of what you call white fir trees. Okay. And white fir trees, probably relatively speaking, have less value, but they're all important as far as biodiversity is concerned. And they're really all important really to this placemaking vision. So the 40-Acre Conservation League Board has really expressed this interest that we want to really restore this area so that trees are even larger, even bigger. They support more wildlife. To talk a little bit about the history. And some of you may be familiar with some of these things, but this is Native American land. All right. We're standing on land that was once managed by the Nisenan and the Maidu tribes. All right. What happens is, you can come up here, Bob. The federal government, basically, under this manifest destiny belief, expands west, takes the land, allocates it to any number of individuals who are traveling west. This land was granted to Central Pacific Railroad. All right. So we'll talk a little bit more about the lake later, but that lake is an artificial lake. It's not a natural lake. You can see the dams on both sides that are pretty high. That was built by Central Pacific Railroad. It was logged multiple times, multiple iterations. And so we're probably on a fourth growth forest, third growth, fourth growth, at least. All right. So that means the largest trees have been taken at least 3 to 4 times. That is probably the oldest tree that we have in this vicinity that's still standing right there. And so the vision that I think Jade and others really articulated is, we really want to supercharge this forest so that it can effectively meet. I'll let Bob talk about how long it takes for trees to grow and all the conditions that are necessary. But that is effectively the land that we're standing on. From Central Pacific Railroad, Central Pacific was taken over by Southern Pacific Railroad. Southern Pacific Railroad built a lot of infrastructure in this region that we'll be pointing out, which ultimately became what is now Union Pacific Railroad. And so from Union Pacific Railroad, the land was sold to a timber company. So those of you who are probably familiar with the Sierras, you heard of Robinson's Enterprises or Robinson's Timber in Grass Valley. They logged it a couple times in the early 2000s, and then they kept it, and they were planning what you call timber harvest documents to do another logging, and then we showed up. We said, whoa, we want to buy it from you. They ultimately wanted to sell it for $6 million. We cut a deal for $4 million, and then we got an appraisal back that said it's only worth $3 million. So we almost lost the opportunity to really grab this property, but ultimately they decided to lower the price by $1 million so that we could step in and purchase it for $3 million with the help of the state agencies here. And so now we've taken control of this property, and no differently than what Jade said, the goal is really restoration and placemaking. Wildfire prevention, promotion of biodiversity, and having people on the landscape. Those are 3 goals that all have a lot of friction between them. People start fires, all right? When vegetation is cleared, that is, some animal's habitat, if you will. And so what we've tried to do is really balance all of those goals so that we can protect the region as a whole. It can still be very good for biodiversity. We have some team members who will talk about that. And it will also be a place that everybody feels comfortable, everybody feels welcome. We have some people here who will talk about how unwelcome they have felt in this area in the past, a little bit later on. But Bob, I'll turn it to you, maybe, and then we can probably head out. We've got a late start.
Okay. So what you see right here, we've accomplished this last fall. Before that, this forest right here was very overstocked. Before that,
we can scoot in a little bit, get closer.
Yeah. So before last fall, this was very overstocked. There was a lot of sick, dead, dying trees, and our goal was to come in here, get rid of those ones that were holding diseases and damaged, or dying, and give room for the rest of them that were healthy, retaining the biggest of the trees and taking trees from underneath, the smaller diameter trees. Now, this would be similar to what would probably be the sort of the broad prescription on the property, but it wouldn't be exactly the same because you can't just put a cookie cutter prescription wherever you go because conditions are different. And across here, they vary quite a lot. At far end of this property, there are actually some very large Douglas fir and white fir trees. Those, we would call those relics and residual legacy trees is what we call those. And we want to maintain those and protect them. And even if, they get some sort of condition, if we have arborists that are involved too, and they deal with individual trees, whereas foresters kind of deal with forests, on a large scale. So the arborists will look at those trees and they will see things we can do to make them healthy and to maintain them into the future. And that's one of the big goals, is to maintain those legacy trees. But in terms of what old growth looks like, we don't see old growth out here. Old growth would be much older trees, but it would be a mosaic of big trees, large woody debris on the ground, young groups of trees, and a mix of ages and a mosaic of age classes across the landscape. We don't see that much anymore. The only place you do see that is on the national forests, and all forests were maintained by fire and created by fire on this landscape. But we're in the fire exclusion time now, and we can't flip the switch and go back to pre-fire exclusion because people are living everywhere in these mountains, and so we do what we have to do, and that's forest management. So our goal is fire resilience through spacing and managing fuels, horizontal fuels and vertical fuels, and creating some opening or keeping some openings, because animals like deer, they need openings. They need edges of stands and types because that's where they reside most of the time. So there are some big brush fields out here on this property that probably were formed more than 100 years ago by fire, and when there was nobody replanting these stands. A fire came down this side of the property and came around the lake and then went down that side to the west 100 years ago. 2 fires did. And you can see the results of those fires in some of those brush fields. And on Sierra Pacific land, it's just to the west of us, you'll see an area where they went in and rehabbed some of those brush fields. And windrowed them and planted them, and they're coming back to very vigorous young stands. So some of that might be done, but also because we have a focus on wildlife, and particularly those deer herds, we're going to want to leave maybe some of that brush that is some of their food source in distinct clumps, not in big clumps, because they don't use big clumps. They use those small clumps, and then they have adjacent places where they can get under cover and where they get protection from predators and so forth. So we want that mosaic across the landscape that in the end is fire safe. It promotes the wildlife that's there and helps the ones that used to be here, like the butterflies and the bumblebees, that so many of them are endangered now. And I've never seen another project ever do this, what they're doing with the pollinators. I've never seen anybody do that. It's completely new to me. So I think that's a great feature of this project. Anything else you want to cover?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's give a round of a hand for Bob. So if you buying some forest land, call Bob. You're gonna need it.